Oh, hello. What is going on, people? I think I'm a minute or two late here, but I see some folks on. Let me turn on this other light. Yeah, there we go. That's nice. How's everybody doing? I see Jeremy's in the house. We got a couple other people. Let me know if you can hear me. I think you can. Yeah. So today we are going to talk about, what did I title this one today? Free keyword research tool. Oh yeah, we're doing a demo with Ubersuggest, which I have not touched in probably a couple years. And there have been requests out there like, hey, can we use some free tools? And I usually tell people, well, you could use free tools, but the functionality is going to be limited. But the thing is, I haven't used Ubersuggest in a while. And I thought, hey, well, we'll give it a shot. Maybe it's fantastic. I know Neil Patel, he bought it a few years ago, and he has been adding functionality. He made it available with additional functionality for free, which is super cool. And we'll hit the normal sort of format for these sessions, which is I'll ramble on, maybe talk about some stuff that's unrelated. I'll answer questions at some point too. And today the main event is going to be this demo with Ubersuggest, which I haven't even like popped open or checked. So we'll be able to probably experience some of the pop-ups and other nonsense that you see when you use some of these tools. Although I have read Neil's blog, I was doing some research for something, I don't remember, read something, and I think it was in the last 30 or 45 days. So some of the pop-ups may not pop up. But if you go over to Neil Patel's site, a lot of times you're going to see like multiple opt-in forms, and you can enter his funnel if you want to and see what like a world-class marketer will do and how he uses scarcity, a lot of free material, and I mean it's a full education in like funnel design. So if you're into that stuff, which I'm actually into that stuff, but if you do sign up for a few of these and you're like, oh, let's see how these funnels work, next thing you know, you got like 8 million emails are coming in. You feel like you're missing out on really everything. We have zeroth, or zero toth. Nah, we'll call zeroth. I think that's a cool way to say it. David, my man David, of course, who is one of the helpful moderators. We got Sandro and Kenneth confirms that you could hear me. And then we have mediocre, awesome. And we have Jason as well. So I was over on my friend Matt Giovanisi's live stream for a minute. So he always live streams before me. It's a new thing he's doing. So I encourage you to check out his live stream. And it was kind of funny because I hopped over there just as it's like the warm up for me. He's like the warm up show for me. I watch it, I get pumped up. Matt's very passionate. He was talking and ranting about basically what I was just talking about. Funnels, selling, and I enjoy the hell out of it. I didn't come from a writing background. It's been a full education on like how to sell and market something, and it's really hard. It's really hard to sell something. It's really hard to understand your market and understand like what's important for the market. And really, for me, it's like understanding that product market fit. And if you understand it, it's storytelling, really. It's storytelling, because if you try and sell by just saying, here are the facts, usually it does poorly, at least in my experience. But when you wrap it up in a story, it's a lot more digestible, and people will potentially buy your product. And both Matt and I have our various products, and we don't do this. We enjoy certain portions of it, and we enjoy different portions of it. So Matt doesn't like to write sales copy. I do. I enjoy it very much, and I think I've gotten better at it over time. And I was going to say, I have people that have bought my stuff in the chat here, so thanks for the support, of course. And I get emails, and people are like, hey, I really connected when you wrote X, Y, and Z. It really reminded me of some of my days. So there's some deeper stuff, and offline, perhaps I'll talk to Matt someday, because I was in there chatting a bunch, and the chat was very quiet. It was a little odd. thought it was very quiet. There were a lot of people in there, and I was in there just talking to myself, and then eventually people were like, yeah, we're lurking out here. So, all right, let's say hello to some other people. I already said hi to Sandro and Adrian. Okay, so thanks everyone who is helping to moderate out there. We're going to take a look at Ubersuggest in just a minute. I know some other people are going to hop in here. I didn't pull any clips together. Usually that buys me time to rest my voice. Potentially, I'll be honest with you, I go take a piss break in the middle of these because I'm like drinking a bunch of water all day long. But I'm gonna hit some random stuff, but I'll save it for closer to the end, so people that actually want to see a demo with Ubersuggest can get that sort of content that they're hungry for. So what I'm gonna do is share my screen. Hopefully this is gonna work. All right, fingers crossed. Everybody cross their fingers. All right, I'm gonna switch cameras. That's too many of me. Over there and over there. Let's get rid of one. Okay, that's better. It's better. All right, now we can share the screen. It's probably gonna, hold on. Okay, pretty good. We don't need the system audio here, so we're good to go here. Overall, fantastic. I believe, okay, I think we're in great shape here. I can zoom in. Hopefully this looks okay for everyone out there. I will be answering some questions. Of course, I'm monitoring the chat. Okay, we're changing the size of the window. I think that's kind of the sweet spot right there. All right. We got Passive Priority. What's up, Charlie? We have Embracing Nirvana from Bangkok, and we'll get into it here. All right. So we're going to pop into Ubersuggest in a second. I want to just point out real quick, I do have a great interview coming out tomorrow on passive priority. It is Charlie. I interviewed Charlie, and he's going to be on for the interview. So pretty cool update. Charlie, this is your heads up on it. So I'll catch up with you on the other side, but we're linking up and you can get the lowdown on this stuff that Charlie is working on. Okay, Ubersuggest. This is a free tool, Neil Patel's free tool, link in the description. So we head over here and you can enter a domain or a keyword. There's a lot going on this page. So if you pop over here, you're automatically given all these options. So you have, multiple languages. You got the blog, pricing, some other blah, blah, blah. But we're just going to do some straight up keyword research here. We're not even going to scroll down because that'll get into more and more stuff here. And I did not do any thinking ahead of time. So we're going to use my classic example of pens at first. All right. So we'll just say ballpoint pen and see what we come up with. And this is kind of, I think, a good way to approach keyword research. Just go with the broad term initially, and then you can zoom in. But I like to just start with a broad term, no buyers, qualifying terms, or prefixes, suffixes, where maybe like best ballpoint pen, just leave that off. We'll just put in ballpoint pen. We're going to stick with English for the US and click search. Then what happens? We end up with, like I said, we're going to experience all the pop-ups and other stuff that may show up for us. So we have this register for free and get more keyword suggestions, daily rank tracking, personalized SEO suggestions, and so on. We're just going to close that out. Okay. And like many tools, you are bombarded with information. And it does tell us that we have 18,000 searches per month. They're telling us that's a high search volume. So agree with that. We have an SEO difficulty of 49. And with most of these tools, you'll have this little, the little pop-up tip deal. So The search volume is the number of searches it has during a month. Those are all estimates. So even if you land on some tool and it tells you it gets 47 searches per month, that is just an estimate. They have some input data. They run it through an algorithm. Typically, it is a 12-month average. Some tools will use a different average. So if you see different values, it's because each company is using a different algorithm to determine their search volume. So whatever, if it's 6 months or 12 months or 18 or whatever, it could be a little bit off. Then we have SEO difficulty, the estimated competition in organic search. The higher the number, the more competitive. Paid difficulty, so the estimated competition in paid search, the higher the number, the more competitive. And the cost per click, that is the average cost per click if you wanted to pay Google to be seen as an ad. If someone is paying a high CPC, it's usually a more valuable keyword. So ballpoint pens get quite a few searches, relatively competitive. As we scroll down, we see Neil has a little tip here. And I got to say, Neil, if you're watching this, I'm sure you're not, that is a sexy haircut. I dig it. I like what you're doing. I like the shift that you're making. And I think it's going to catch on. The average web page that ranks in the top 10 has 444 backlinks and a domain score of 83. So the domain score is equivalent, my hunch is, to the domain authority. It has sort of the same as domain rating. So I'm sure we could find a definition, but in general, that is kind of the idea here. Okay, so we scroll down, we do see the search volume over time, sort of that monthly average here. You can upgrade to see historical data, but he is giving us what appears to be 4 months of data. So that's fine. That's fine. That's no big deal. It does tell us here the mobile volume and the desktop volume, which if I'm doing my math right, which I'm not sure I am, but if I'm doing the math right and I see the scale on this graph over here, it's 20,000. All right, 20,000 is this middle line here. 30,000 is up here. So if I look here, I see 5,000, I'll read this out because it could be small, 5,891 mobile searches, and then we have 21,000 desktop searches. So that tells me these other months which are hidden, those are probably going to be much lower because remember we see the search volume here is 18,000 per month on average. So when I'm looking at these, the sum is roughly 27,000. 27,000 for these. So the other months must be lower. Okay. As we scroll down, you have to sign up for a free 7-day trial or sign up for like the paid version here to get more information. So he does give us keyword ideas. It gives us a general trend, and it looks like we can kind of deep dive into certain areas. And you can see some of these are, like buyer keyword focus, like best ballpoint pen, which is where we're going to head in a moment here. And you have keyword ideas and different tabs here. So we have suggestions, we have related. So those will be a little bit different. We have questions. So that's like the Jeopardy style. Who invented the ballpoint pen? When was the ballpoint pen invented? We have prepositions. So that gives us, back to the writing thing. I'm not a writer. So preposition, that's one of those other words in there that's not a verb or a noun. It's not an adverb, not an adjective. What is a preposition, folks? Somebody help me out here. Somebody Google it. I'm an idiot on that kind of stuff. Comparisons. So those are something versus something else. Ballpoint pen versus rollerball, fountain pen, gel pen, whatever. Okay, so that breaks it down in a few different areas, and we'll go back to suggestions since this is kind of the big one, or the first one, I guess. The first one and the one I'm most interested in, rather. And we have the PD here, so paid difficulty, and the SD is the search difficulty, SEO difficulty. So we got some information here. I'm just going to scroll down without looking at all the keywords yet. It gives us content ideas too, which are generally seem to be probably well and high ranking content ideas around ballpoint pens. So that is potentially interesting. Not so helpful for what we're doing here, I don't think. So from here, let's look at the best ballpoint pen, and we can see that that has a volume of 3,600. So we'll dive in and see what data we can get here. And we do have Mastermind asked this question here. What numbers are a healthy volume? So it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're just starting your site, you may see best ballpoint pen. You got 3,600 searches. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good like large keyword to go after. The fact is, it's going to take you a little while to rank that keyword. It's reasonably competitive. There are a lot of people that would want to rank for that, and the search volume tells you that it's relatively high. So I would say anything probably over about 1,000 searches per month is search for a decent amount. It's all relative in the context of your industry. If it's perhaps something fitness related, maybe it's a really huge market versus, the affiliate marketing space. That said, you can almost always, no matter how big the market, you could always keep niching down into a very narrow space. So with the fitness example, if you're just looking at how to lose weight by exercising, like there's endless keywords, very competitive, a lot of different options. But if you narrow it down to something super specific, like losing weight through yoga, then you've narrowed your market down tremendously. So there'll be fewer searches, but it could be enough, depending on what you're selling, to make good money. Let's say you have private classes and coaching that you do. You can earn a lot that way. So we have Sandro cluing me in on prepositions, ballpoint pen for, ballpoint pen with. Okay, so for, with, using, stuff like that. Okay, so it would be perhaps like related to some applications. So we have here best ballpoint pen. So we dove in, we started broad, we dove into something a little bit more specific here. And now we have 314 keyword ideas that are, well, related to it in some way. So let's look closer. Now, we can scroll down and we can see the number of searches. We see the search difficulty. And we see, actually, this is interesting, who invented the ballpoint pen. So that's an informational post, informational query. And we see the search volume of 2,400. It's not particularly expensive, under $1. And the paid search is not very competitive. We see the search difficulty, the SEO difficulty is 6, which is out of 100. So that's seemingly very low. And let's see what happens if we, actually, I don't know if we want to dive in there, but there are informational and there are buying keywords in here. So let's scroll down and, back to kind of the root of your question, Mastermind. We started broad, just ballpoint pen. Then we got the best ballpoint pen. And eventually what I'm going to advise most people around like keyword research, starting a new site, basically aim for low competition, long tail keywords, use the keyword golden ratio. That's my thing. And it'll help you narrow it down. So if you have that in mind, you're aiming for searches under 250. The couple arguments that people will have. If you look for keywords where very few people are searching, right? So this is a classic question. Let's find one down here. Okay, and then we're getting to the limitations of Ubersuggest as a free tool, but forget it. Let's say it thought I was gonna click off here. So do you want more traffic? Track and improve your SEO. So this is an exit intent pop up. So if the website detects that I'm moving away from the content area into this zone, a pop-up will appear. They'll try to entice me, and I'm going to decline. I'm just going to click the X so we could do our thing here. Because basically, I want to come back over to another screen. Let's do this and over here. Okay. We're doing okay. All right. Transition over here. So people will say, why would I go after a keyword if it only gets 20 searches per month? A lot of people that have watched me and heard many of the success story folks that have been on know the answer to this question. So write it in the chat if you want to appear smart. I'll give you a shout out. And here's the deal. So 100 searches per month. Again, all these search tools are just estimates. Some people even say don't use a search tool because they're digging in and they're just saying like, fuck search tools. Just do, topic style research and, don't worry about it. Just do what you feel is good and find topics that people are interested in. There's many tools in the shed, right? So if you want to do the topic research and not worry about search volume, that's okay. In our world, we look at these low search volume terms. So we'll say 20 searches per month. I can't remember what I said earlier, but we'll say 20 searches per month. So you are targeting something that Google is saying, hey, it's roughly, or these tools are saying, hey, it's roughly getting like 20 searches per month. And people are like, hey, I can't make any money at that. 20 is not enough. So a couple things. Number one, it's just an estimate. Number two, there are other terms, right? So if you write an article on best ballpoint pen for bullet journaling, if you write that article, say it's 1,500 words, you talk about a couple different pens, a couple points about bullet journaling, great. You're using a lot of different headings and subheadings. You're covering some different topics. Chances are you're going to rank for other terms, not just the one that you found with 20 searches per month. You're going to rank for other terms that are related. So let's say let's say I'm a searcher and I search for best ballpoint pen for bullet journaling for exercise. So I want to use it for exercise tracking and that sort of thing. Maybe your post will rank. And by the way, there's a ton of people using search for their specific little thing. So if you cover exercise and habit tracking, or maybe you're in college or a grad program or something like that, then maybe you're going to rank for many other keywords that are so obscure, they don't even register on tools like this. They're not even noted at all. They will show up for 0 searches. They'll just have a dash. It'll look like no one's searching for it at all. The point is, you will hear from people over and over again that do keyword research and they'll say, yep, I published a piece of content for something that all the tools said it gets 0 searches per month, and I'm getting 200 visitors, a month, or I'm getting like 100 visitors a day on that page for something that is reported with 0 search volume. So what does that mean? What do we take away? Does it mean these tools are useless? No, I mean, if you study any like SEO, if you go to Moz, if you go to Ahrefs, you go to Majestic, you go to KWFinder, go look around, right? Like everyone will tell you, do some keyword research. It's not a waste of time. Is it exact? No. Is it even accurate? No, but maybe not, but it gives us a relative idea of search volume. So just to throw it out because it's not 100% accurate is kind of foolish. Now, on the other side of the coin, slight tangent here, on the other side of the coin, if someone is, say, taking the KGR, and there are a number of people that have approached me and said, hey, I started with the KGR, I'm applying some different factors in here, and it's making it more accurate. That could be true. I've never had anyone or seen anything where they actually came back and had multiple case studies of documentation showing that at least it's better than using the basic KGR formula. The problem with putting more data in is those are, again, just estimates. And the more estimates that you layer on top of each other, where you're making assumption after assumption, the percentage of accuracy goes down just because you have more data. And there's many studies on this. I think it's called something like the expert's bias or something like that. But essentially, I need to look this shit up. But basically, just because you have more information doesn't mean it's helpful. You will feel more confident. That's the problem. You feel more confident. You're like, oh, I just piled all this extra data on. This is more accurate. Here's how I'm going to prioritize my information here and my content. And it actually doesn't matter. You just wasted a lot of time. Again, I haven't seen anyone like bring me a more complicated formula. And from my perspective, I don't want to complicate things. KGR is already forcing people to do things manually. Some people, most people could follow it pretty well if they're kind of in the weeds for keyword research. So, okay, we got a question here from Agochukwa, which I think I mispronounced your name, but let's see what we got. It's difficult to find, this is not a question. It's difficult to find low competition buyer's intent keywords with Ubersuggest metrics. The majority will be above 36. Okay, and I haven't used Ubersuggest too much, but I am not surprised if that's the case. So I'm going to try to pop back over to the screen share situation. Okay, nice. It worked. So as I mentioned before, we get a lot of information from Ubersuggest, but as we scroll down here, you are unable to see all the keywords. So you can get limited data from tools like Ubersuggest, but this is what happens like over and over again. There's a tool, there's free functionality. Usually at first, it's very rich. Nothing is held back. You get all the functionality. And then as time goes on, they peel back the functionality. So we can get a lot of data here, but not everything. And I remember this with SEMrush, Ahrefs, Moz, Majestic, KWFinder, name a tool. It's a great way to get people into your, tool and using it so that you can test it, build out infrastructure, and so on. But at the end of the day, they're losing money running this kind of thing. When I did the little prep ahead of time just to check on some of the details for Ubersuggest before we started today, Neil mentions that he's spending like upwards of $200,000 per month to run this app, which is not surprising. I mean, it's data intensive. There's a ton of load on the server. If you look at the number of backlinks and just, backlinks heading to a site and the amount of traffic on Neil's site, like this acquisition was amazing for, link building, because it's a free, rich tool. So one thing, let's see if we can resort this volume and get the information. Okay. So I resorted it. So now it's ascending order instead of descending. So now we can see the 0 search volume terms with a very low SEO difficulty. So useful from that point of view. Typically, on this SEO difficulty, I don't know how accurate these metrics are. I usually find some of the tools are really shitty as far as accuracy on how competitive they actually are. Sometimes they're pretty good. So that's sort of this section here. Again, we can sort on related, or not sort, but we can change our perspective here. And do comparisons. So ballpoint pen refills. It doesn't really sound like a comparison, but that's okay. So we have roller ball versus ballpoint pen. So let's look a little deeper in that one. And then when you do that, you have this section over here, which gives us a rollerball versus ballpoint pen. The average web page that ranks in the top 10 has 29 backlinks and a domain score of 41. We see the number of links here, which I'm not sure where Neil is sourcing those metrics. There are tools which he could probably use via their APIs, which he could just pay for access. So he could be pulling this data from some other source. He could also be crawling the web himself, but I have a feeling that he's probably just using an API to get that data. There are the estimated number of visitors for that particular term. And we have the domain authority, and it looks like the domain score is related. Well, there's a long description here, but they point out the domain authority is apparently a trademark or copywritten search score from Moz, and then Okay, so yeah, the domain strength is probably the same. Social shares, which, could be somewhat valuable or interesting, but most of the time for these affiliate sites, like no one's really sharing like, oh my God, can you believe this comparison for rollerballs versus ballpoint pens? Like no one's really sharing that. No one really cares. So we get some data on that. We see the number of links, and to online Ogoochukwu. We'll just say online. How about that? There are potentially some pretty competitive ones out there, but a lot of times a versus is a decent buying keyword. Now, one thing we do see as we scroll down, these are obviously pretty competitive up here with the number of, let me move my little window here, the number of searches, the number of backlinks that they have down here. But as we scroll down into the top 10, we see a few of them don't have many backlinks at all. So we have 4, 2, 22, 8, and 2, and those are in the top 10. So that is why this search difficulty score is 21 here, because you can get on the bottom of the top 10, you can get on the first page with not very many links. Now, the domain strength is a little bit higher for a couple of these, but one of them is 17, one of them is 21, 27. Some of them are a little bit higher, but there's a handful that are approachable. Now, if we go to fountain pen versus ballpoint pen, we see a search SEO difficulty of 11. So let's dig a little deeper here, and I'll, look for some questions out there, folks, in a second. So this one we see a very small number of links, 2, we have 0, 4, and 0, and the domain strength runs the gamut from the teens and ones up in the 90s, but that's a Quora result. Quora. All right, and then if you click here, it'll actually open that result. So we can check out like, hey, what's going on there? And we can see handwriting or fountain pens better than ballpoint pens. There's like some people answering questions, some other whatever. So you can kind of get an idea what's going on by looking at those. So as I mentioned before, you can see some have a lot of links and some don't. We see the Atlantic here has a domain strength of 93 and a ton of links is over 700 and 120,000 shares, but they're ranking 6, and there's all these smaller sites ranking ahead of it. So there's some room there, and I'm going to pop back over to here and thank the sponsor, Ezoic, and their Site Speed Accelerator. I got obsessed this past week with my site speed, and it was triggered by really a tool that I was using, the one tool that was still slowing down my website, and I had tried for years to make it a lean implementation, and it was running scripts. One of the initial issues that I had, and this is from a couple years ago, and I knew it was a problem. So I used a tool called Opt-in Monster, which is fantastic for like some of the pop-ups that we saw here. It helps you grow your email list. And I used it for years. I've been a customer for many years. And it was relatively inexpensive back in the day. At some point in time, they raised the cost fairly significantly. I don't ever remember getting an update on that. But I just saw when I got charged annually, it was more expensive than it was before that previous year. So I think I was on like relatively early days. Good tool overall. At some point in time, I was trying to speed up my site, which is something the Site Speed Accelerator can help you do. And I noticed that it's a script that has to run, and you can implement via a plugin, you can put it in a snippet of code or whatever. But at the end of the day, a script has to run on an external server. They have to pull some data. They're doing some statistics and analytics and stuff. So it's a full suite. And that's why I'm mentioning it here. But the problem that I had is I was getting these huge images like uploaded. We're talking like 250K. And in my pop-up, I wasn't using an image. In fact, I removed the image and I was like, why do we still have this huge image that I'm not even using? And it was literally called placeholder image. So I, at some point, had to open a ticket. And they realized that there was some error, like some legacy code that was loading that. But if you're not obsessed, like somehow I get obsessed with that stuff, you would miss it. You would just think, well, they're telling me it's loading as fast as it can. They're telling me it's loading asynchronously and it's loading after everything else and it's not blocking everything. But 100%, my site was loading slower. So I could run speed test on anything and they would just give me the stock answer. Well, it's not slowing it down. We load it asynchronously and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, they didn't do anything else. So they removed that big bloated image, but it was still loading slow. Way more requests and calls to the server than necessary. I'm not sure what was going on. Anyway, the point is they're raising their rates, and they sent me an email. They're like, hey, we're going to renew. We'll cut you a deal, but we're raising the rates for next year, blah, blah, blah. So my old grandfathered rate was going to go away. It was a trigger for me. I was like, you know what? I'm out. I'm done. I'm going to rip it out. I'm going to do a simpler implementation. It's not going to be as feature rich. But frankly, I don't care. I just want it to load fast. I'm tired of fighting with this fucking tool, right? So anyway, I removed it. I am kind of in the process of overhauling things. So bringing it back around to site speed, once I removed Opt-in Monster, my site regularly loads in like 350 milliseconds to like half a second for most pages. If it's a pretty bloated page with several images and several YouTube embeds, then it will it'll take like half a second or even up to a second if you're in like a different continent, or if you're on a different continent from like the home-based servers, even though I have like CDN implemented and some other, optimization and caching and stuff like that. But anyway, site speed, it's important. It's great when you have it loading fast. You don't want people sitting around waiting for your site to load when they're on mobile. So you can check out the Site Speed Accelerator on Ezoic. There's a 7-day free trial. They guarantee an 80 or higher for the Google Page Speed Insight score. So check it out. I appreciate them sponsoring me. And even if you're not interested in the tool, go to Ezoic. There's a link in the description. Find a way to send them a message, send them a chat and say, hey, we're glad that you sponsored Doug. That'll help out. Okay. That's good for now. Any other keyword related questions here? So I guess we could dig in and keep demoing the old Ubersuggest here. And the thing is, I tell people, hey, you should pay for a tool, because if you try to use a free tool, they're just going to tie your hands behind your back. Like, you could try to make do and resort and try to filter things to like get more data out of here. But at the end of the day, you're not getting all the data that you need, and the functionality is limited. And then you have all this, all these pop-ups, you have all this marketing hitting you where you just need to do keyword research. So if you have the ability to pay, highly recommend you pay for a tool. I don't care which one. You could even use Ubersuggest because there's obviously like pricing and plans here. So you can use whatever tool you want. I have my favorites. I use a few of them. I really like KWFinder for the kind of research I do most of the time. I love Keywords Everywhere because it's right inside of my Google search, and it actually lays on top as a Chrome extension so that if I'm using the Search Console or Google Analytics or a number of other tools that allow me to do keyword research, it will lay on top and give you search volumes. So it's super helpful. Hrefs is one of the favorites that I hear about all the time. I love Hrefs. I don't love it for keyword research as my primary method, but it's a good cross-check most of the time. We can, actually I'll give, and Charlie mentions here over at Passive Priority, for keyword difficulty, 90% of my keywords for my 1,000 article website are between 5 and 7 and out of about 100. Okay, so the keyword difficulty is generally low. All right, and I will also, we're hitting some questions here, so that's a good time for me to put up our little, well, it's Niche Website Builders, all right? So they're another sponsor here, Niche Website Builders, and Thane asks, I'm thinking of starting a disabled entrepreneur blog, but I don't want to reveal my identity. Do I think an idea is viable? So I would encourage you to, and do you say it Thane? I never know. We've emailed and we've been friendly for a long time, but I don't know if it's Thane or if you say it a different way, but you let me know in the chat. Sure, there's always a way to keep your identity confidential. I believe after, I came out of my shell and just put it all out there, people relate on a ton of stuff. So you can still actually be confidential and reveal personal details. There are some personalities that I've seen in the financial independence space where they basically had like a name. So I'm trying to think, which people know them now. And if you go to like an actual live conference and you met them, like you would know who they are. They're just a normal person and all that stuff. But you could just adopt a name and be known by that name. And you could be on different platforms with different people. You could guest post, you could be on podcasts, you can be on YouTube, all while keeping your identity confidential and never revealing it, never showing your face, and just being under the radar. So there's a way to do it. And I think probably the important part is just like to be personal and to reveal things because people can relate to that versus just being plain vanilla. You also will get people that, you want people to have an opinion on you, about you. You don't want them to feel nothing. So some people will think, they don't like me. They don't want to hear my random stories, but other people do want to hear the random stories. Maybe they have some vested interest in it. Maybe they're into the topic. Maybe they actually don't care, but they just like the way I talk about certain things, which sounds kind of weird, but I actually listen to a few podcasts where I literally don't care about 1/3 of the topic area. And I listened to a podcast, the Monday morning podcast, it's Bill Burr's show. He's been around for a long time as a podcaster and he's gotten much bigger, but he talks about sports 30% of the time, and I don't care about sports at all. So I still listen because it's entertaining when he tells a story, and I, can follow along. I'm knowledgeable enough. I just wouldn't pay attention on my own. So, and if people missed it, this is part of the Niche Website Builders Q&A segment. I have a couple pieces of work that they're doing for me. One is a Shotgun Skyscraper campaign. It's doing fantastically. If people want to hear an update on that, you can leave a comment, and you can also leave something in the chat too. I can give you a little bit of an update. I also get 20,000 words of content from them. I just take a quick look. They format everything. They draft it in WordPress. They got images in there. Everything's great. I usually just take a quick look to make sure there's nothing weird going on. If there is, like one time I saw a little formatting that was off. So I emailed them. I said, take a look at this. It needs to be just so. You guys know I'm very specific, and then they go and fix it. Usually super quickly. So Niche Website Builders, check it out. They are another reason why I'm able to do these live streams. They bring you this show. So even if you don't want to buy anything, head over to the link in the description, the show notes there, and tell them you're glad that they sponsored me. All right. Marcus seconds the keywords everywhere. It's really great. Super cheap. Yeah. Very inexpensive. There's a full range of functionality. Very powerful tool. All right. Tim says, I have a blog in English. Can I translate it in Spanish? Yeah. Okay. So Tim, you have a homework assignment, man. This is very important. It's going to blow your mind. I'm going to get really close here. Thank God it's HD, right? Everyone needs to see me this close. Tim, are you listening? Tim, hey. All right. There's an interview I did with a guy named Nigel. He's 22, young dude. He quit college. He's pulling in like 10 to 15,000 euros per month with his site that he started not too long ago. It's in Dutch and German. He's making money from a variety of sources, which is pretty awesome. But watch the interview. As far as I am concerned, Google is not, you know what? Here, let me rephrase that a little bit. Google should not be seeing that as duplicate content, and check Neil's site. All right. So watch this real quick here. So we got Neil's site right here. And then we have this little drop down. He has it translated to multiple different languages. All right. So if you check out his blog, you will see that it is translated to all these different languages. And I'm pretty sure it's just like neilpatel.com/whatever language, BR, ES, IT, whatever. And it's published out there. And funny side story, not super funny, but casually funny. I had my blog linked to from Neil in some of his blog posts, which is really cool. It was syndicated in multiple different languages and multiple different sites. So a thing that happened was people syndicate blogs and they just like republish it all over the place. So sometimes it's like the actual person doing it. Like, I'm not sure if Neil syndicates across other blogs, but other bloggers will syndicate that content, and it's published out there. They link back to the original source. So technically it's all kosher. However, a shitload of people syndicate Neil's stuff, and then it's translated into different languages, and then that's syndicated. So you see where I'm going with this. There all of a sudden was 400 links created in the span of a couple weeks, all using the same anchor text all over the place. It was syndicated content, and it looked like a link building scheme. And I had like a penalty associated with it. So I did the bullshit that they tell you to do, and I tried to send emails to the webmasters. I'm like, hey, we removed the link. Of course, it takes a huge amount of time to try and do that. So I emailed like a handful of them, and then I submitted a reconsideration request, and they looked at it, and I was like, hey, it was syndicated on Neil Patel's blog. And then
or it was linked to on Neil Patel's blog, and then it was syndicated across the world. And that is why there's all these links. And they were like, oh, okay. And then it was fine. So next, Mediocre asks, wouldn't it be worth purchasing 1 month subscription on a top recommended service and get the keywords you need? And would you need that tool in the future? Yeah, actually, this is exactly what I say in my courses. Typically, I'll say, you know what, you need a research tool for like 1 to 2 months, depending on how much you can work on it. And if you are short on cash and you want to limit your upfront investment, then do it month by month. That is totally fine. And then if you find in 3 months you're still using it, maybe then you have an idea of your usage and how you're going to be using that tool for your business. So you could pay up front that year, because typically you're going to save a decent amount, enough to where it's like worthwhile. You're going to save, 10 to 20% often if you pay it all in advance. And then you're asking, would you still need the tool from then on? You will probably need the tool off and on, but if you're limited on a budget, I highly recommend just paying for what you need when you need it, and you could always like come back to it again. Sam says, syndication always looks spammy. Yeah, I agree. I think it does look spammy. I think there are some big blogs that I think do this all the time, but I think it has to be very controlled. I don't do that. THC says, can you tell us which tool is full, free for exact monthly search volume? No, I don't think there is one. So if anyone knows out there, you can tell me. I have a post. I mean, the thing is, they're going to eventually try to sell you something. So there's no free rides. It's never free all the way. And I lost my window here. Yep, so it's never free all the way. To my knowledge, there's not a 100% free tool. There may be some of them out there. But rewind to the beginning, and I tell you why you should probably pay for a tool. Matt from Money Lab is on. What's going on? How did the solo episode go? I popped in for a few minutes and riled up the chat, and then I left. So hopefully everything went good and I didn't do anything stupid. But yeah, we're talking keyword research using Ubersuggest today. And let's click around a little bit more and see what we have on the old Ubersuggest here. So we got keyword ideas, the keyword overview. We got content ideas. Let's look at the competitive analysis section. Let's look at the traffic overview. Oh, so we need to put in a domain. Oh, we can do a keyword too. So we'll just do best ball point pen. And we get 3 free daily searches. All right, so that's what it says right here. So back to THC, it's like there's no free ride. So we have a little bit more detail. I mean, it's kind of the same info that we saw here. All right, so we have the last couple months of the search volume. We have more keyword ideas. And I think now that I'm looking at this is the same view that we had before. So I thought I went to a different spot, but maybe I didn't. Okay, so we're in overview. So if we click keyword ideas, it's okay, this is exactly what we looked at before. Content ideas. So it's just narrowing it down to different sections. Okay. Competitive analysis. So we can look at, this is like a loop here. The fuck are we doing? All right. So traffic analyzer, traffic over time, Okay, well, we can check some stuff out in a second here, but I do see there are some more questions, and it looks like I'm hitting a dead end with the tool a little bit. So we'll pop back here. And again, shout out to Money Lab. He's been doing these live streams, and he says that the solo episode went well, better than expected, and he got all fired up. Yeah, he was ranting and raving on sales pages. In the beginning of mine, I was like explaining some of the context of my chat conversation. So I was like, I like writing sales pages, and I like writing those emails. And I think it's very important to do. I think iterating on your sales funnel is really important, because usually it's going to be a piece of shit for the first little bit. From my experience, it took me a long time. Tim says this, another question. If I put a few affiliate links on my pages, does Google ignore it, or is it bad SEO? What are my thoughts? No, affiliate links are fine to do. Google doesn't necessarily ignore it. It's not bad SEO. I mean, a lot of our business model, depending on your business model, you will have affiliate links. In fact, I was chatting with someone earlier this morning. They were saying, hey, I have informational content. If I have affiliate links in there, is it informational content or is it an affiliate piece of content because there's one or two affiliate links? And this is up for debate, but my belief is based on the keyword. So if you have a how to do X, that is an informational keyword, a how-to article. If you can tell someone how to do something cheaper, easier, or faster in that how-to article, and you can recommend a product, it's your job to recommend the product. Cheaper, easier, faster, those are important. People are trying to do something better. So if you can make that recommendation, it's your job. It is fine. You can go overboard and put too many affiliate links, so don't do that. But if you put a couple in, totally fine. All right, Tutorial Lab, how to check competition for keyword without using any tool or free tools. So I'm realizing the error and why I held off on doing a tutorial like this in the past. So basically, Google the term and look at the competition. That's what you do. There are free Google extensions that you can use that will make it, make it easier to look at the subheadings, the amount of content, the keyword density, and a handful of things. So you can analyze all of that stuff. So one of the key things, one of the best things you could do, Google the term and then understand the searcher intent, and then look through the top 10, top 20 results, and then you'll see, are these pages actually answering that query? Are they helping that searcher? Or are they off a little bit? Is the context off? Are people asking about a certain thing and all the answers they're getting are about something else? So if you can serve it better, then do it. And the error of my ways here is, I titled this free keyword research tool. And I've been doing a few demos, and I've said, hey, I'm using these paid tools because that's what I use, and it'll save you a lot of time. So if you're trying to do everything on the cheapest budget that you can, there's a fly in my coffee. Come on, man. It's one of these little fruit flies. What's going on here? What's going on? Come on. Gotta drink this stuff. Glad I looked down. I thought it was like just a piece of cinnamon or something like that, but it was a bug. It was a bug. Okay, so back on topic. The problem is if you're trying to be so budget, you're just wasting a ton of time, and you're potentially hurting yourself by trying to be on such a budget. And I was having a conversation, and I put out a ton of free information, and people can, find and use this information, especially if you are on a budget. That's fantastic. I understand that. I understand it. But then when I am looking like, who can I help the most? It's people that can like invest a little bit of money into the tools. Like, you potentially can make tens of thousands of dollars and change your whole entire life. So like, once you get to a place where you're comfortable, don't go into debt, right? I'm giving you mixed signals here, but like, you got to invest a little bit. You can do it on a very tight budget. You don't have to have, $15,000 to invest, but you may have to spend a couple $100 over the next few weeks, over the next few months. You usually don't have to cough up too much at once, but you may have to pay like $50 to use a tool for a little while. Okay. Back on it. So don't be too stingy, people. Spend some fucking money if you need to. Okay. Going on says, hey man, what do you think about Pinterest traffic for Amazon affiliate marketing purposes? It's a great way to get traffic on the early side. Typically, number one, I'm not in the Pinterest area. I've never really had much success. I've dabbled a little bit, didn't really pan out. I didn't really enjoy it, and I tend to stay away from things that I don't enjoy. And then it can be useful to get traffic to your site early, but most likely you're going to have better luck getting organic search traffic over time. It will take some time to build that up. So that's why Pinterest is a fine option for your early traffic. Saeed says, what's my recommendation for the best keyword research? So I said it earlier, and I encourage you to rewind and watch this. So while I enjoy pushing affiliate products, I don't really care. So I try to be fairly agnostic on tools. I don't care. I want to be unbiased in certain areas. And one of them is like recommending products. So I literally don't care what product you use. I'm not pushing anything specific. I personally use KWFinder. I like that as a pure keyword research tool. I find the difficulty score to be a little more accurate for the kind of research I do. Matt really likes Ahrefs. I love Ahrefs too. It's useful in different ways. I don't love it for keyword research, but it's excellent for a lot of other things. I use Keywords Everywhere, which I've already mentioned, and I like that. I probably use it more often than the other two tools because I'm working directly in search there. And Matt is letting me know about Money Lab Pro. So I will take a look. And if people are unaware, Matt, we'll have to talk. Maybe I can be an affiliate for them. I'm not real sure exactly the target market for it. Tim says, what's my favorite niches at the moment? Is there a hot niche that we have to dive into? Now, I usually don't love these kind of questions, but I'll tell you what I'm into. I'm into personal finance and financial independence. So I'm thinking about those areas. So I would say whatever you're into, Tim, is the thing that you should aim for. Because if you try to spend time on something that you're not interested in or you're not knowledgeable about, then you're going to end up sort of like uninterested and you're going to bail pretty quick. All right. And yeah, whatever industry you're in, Tim, you could go around and everyone is going to tell you like whatever industry they are in is like the hot one. Cause I mean, that's where they're spending their time. So that's like all they're consuming. And whatever you're into, do that one. All right. Stuart says you just joined Ezoic Page Speed Accelerator, but you haven't seen an improvement. So I go back to Ezoic, or could it be a plugin issue? Stuart, okay. Yeah, go back to Ezoic, but one thing that I didn't emphasize today, but I should, is you should not, let me rephrase that. I highly recommend that you don't use the plugin. Integrate using the DNS. DNS integration lays on top of your instance of whatever your CMS is. So it doesn't matter if you're using WordPress or something else. If you change your DNS settings, you'll take advantage of the CDN and caching, and they use Cloudflare. A lot of people do use Cloudflare, but yeah, if you are using the Ezoic plugin, you don't get as many optimizations, and then that could be the issue, and you could get help from Ezoic. All right, Anne says, I believe you could sign up for a one-time fee for Ubersuggest now instead of a monthly fee. Oh, cool. That's cool. Marcus says fly in the protein means, or fly in the coffee means more protein. Yep. So true. So true. All right. I recently started, this is Tutorial Lab. I recently started a blog and wrote 8 articles. Any advice for me? I'm an old blogger but got no success. I hope this time will do. All right. So I was talking about this earlier, and I'm not sure the situation here, because occasionally people will hop in and they're like, any advice for me, just general. Some people will say, hey, can you give me a motivational speech? And I'm not that guy. I can provide a lot of information, but I can't, I don't think I'm a big motivator. And it's kind of weird because I try to be helpful. I'm answering everyone's questions. We got a nice dialogue here going on. But when it comes down to it, no one out there cares if your little site does anything. I mean, you seem nice, Tutorial Lab. You said you've been in this for a while, no success. Hopefully this time it'll work. You know what? I mean, there's just a lot of shit going on, and I would love it for a lot of people to get whatever they want. But I mean, I am not here to be a cheerleader. I'm not a cheerleader. So I don't know what that means. I mean, I'm not a huge motivator. I try to bring like people telling their stories. That can be motivating, sure. But as far as advice, you wrote 8 articles. Write 80 more. Like, spend some time, try to do better. I like to look at what people are doing that are ahead of you, that are a couple years ahead of you, and you're not going to be able to like copy or recreate exactly what they're doing now, but you could look at what they were doing earlier and perhaps emulate some of that. So yeah, I guess the point is, any advice, like get back on it, keep trying. Basically everyone that I know that's successful, like had hurdles, had big issues. I've had like multiple times where I had Google penalties, sites that were doing great, earning tons of money, they dropped to nothing. And everyone seems to have that story. If you're in this for long enough and you're stubborn enough to stay with it, you'll end up with some stories, you'll end up with some things that didn't work, and you had to iterate and iterate and iterate until it worked. And then after that, you have like a broad range of sort of mistakes and experience that you could draw from. The thing that I will tell you, if you have skipped around from topic to topic, or sorry, not topic, but like business model to business model, that's a big red flag for me. And if you just usually spend time on one thing, give it enough time to work, you'll be way more successful than if you hear like, I have like the ADT, or I have like the entrepreneur shiny object and I want to just go from one thing to another. And you're like, yeah, I'm doing a drop shipping thing. I want to do Kindle publishing. I found this other kind of funnel design thing and I want to sell click funnels or some other kind of funnel course. And then you're doing affiliate marketing, and then you think I want to start a YouTube channel, and you're jumping around from thing to thing to thing. You're just not executing, and you're just not taking those early beginner lessons and then like layering them on top of each other. You're just a beginner in multiple things and you're bad at several things. So definitely like stick to, one thing for a while. That's, back to Tim, you should probably like do the thing that you're really interested in. All right. So that's a big rant of unhelpfulness right there. Tim says that he's never had any success with Pinterest, and your new blog, you tried again and no results at all. I've heard that Pinterest is, they've shifted their algorithm a couple times. So some things that were working are not working at all anymore. And, you see this with like courses, because there's courses on Pinterest traffic, and you see they have to like scramble and revamp the whole course, So things that were working, I mean, it's a big search engine over there. So Tim says, have I had a blog or niche that totally failed? Yeah, so I've had a few. My first one was pretty much a flop because I didn't know what I was doing. And then after that, I still early on, one of the things we do, all right, if people can relate, let me know here. So you just figured out how to start a website. You bought hosting, you launched your first site, and you got like 10 other ideas. You maybe found a few keywords that are not related to the same niche. You buy those domains and you start those sites. I did that probably for like 3 months. I probably had like 10 sites. I don't remember, but I was like buying domains and setting up sites, and I'd write like one article and then I wouldn't do anything with it. And I did that over and over again until I realized I'm trying to start way too many things and I need to just get out, like focus on the one thing. So I probably have like 6 that totally failed because I was trying to start multiple blogs at the same time. I really didn't understand the work involved. I was probably only like 3 months in. As soon as I discovered these niche sites and affiliate marketing and stuff, I got started really quickly and really sloppily. I mean, I was learning those beginner mistakes and those beginner sort of issues really quickly, because I was taking a lot of action in a short amount of time. So little other update here. Got a couple other things going on. Dry January is going great. What's the date today? The 27th. So feeling good. I've been sleeping really well. And I was actually like analyzing some data, and I noticed that I am sleeping better. And when I look at the like sleep metrics, I have an Apple Watch, which is charging right now. I don't have it on, but I have like a pretty good amount of data. And I was looking from like January versus December, and I'm sleeping a lot more. But then as I went back and looked through 2020 and I looked at 2019, it looked like there were certain months where I just got a little more sleep. I was getting to bed a little bit earlier. I kind of remember that maybe I would wake up more through the night. So I'm actually feeling more rested right now. But when I look at kind of the raw metrics of how long I'm in bed, how long I'm sleeping, the amount of deep sleep, and a few other things, it's not as good as I feel, which is kind of good because I am sleeping well. I am sleeping well and I am enjoying that. But I thought basically for the last like 4 years that I was only getting like 6.5 hours of sleep per night. But there's a pretty good amount of data that's showing that I slept, and I do sleep for 7 to 7.5 hours. And it just depends on like how early I'm going to bed and laying down. So we will see how it goes. And shout out to my other channel. All right. I started another YouTube channel. It's kind of going to be on like self-improvement stuff. There's only 2 videos. There's a link in the description. I need your support. I need your support. I think I only have like 20 some odd subscribers at this point. It's going to be a little while before I have more content on there, but I have a couple videos right now talking about Dry January. At the end of the month, I will have like a full video tracking the journey. I have been weighing myself more often. I usually don't weigh myself, but I think I'm putting on, I've lost a couple pounds, and I really want to lose the fat. And one thing that I'm dealing with here is I am fine with the no drinking, and my wife and I are like, okay, should we keep this going in some capacity? Maybe just drink less. I mean, we're ready to have a beer. I'm ready to go over to Matt's house and check out his brewery and have a beer soon. I'm so ready to have a beer. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm sleeping great. I feel great. It's like a superpower, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to do other challenges, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But as I'm looking at, the downside of drinking, which doesn't seem to be that high. I mean, there's not a huge downside. I'm sleeping a little better, but when I look back at the data, I usually sleep pretty decent. I just didn't realize it. And I'm like, well, if I don't set up a challenge that is a direct opposition to having beer, there's a good chance I will easily go back to my old habits of drinking a couple of beers per day. So I'm not sure what to do. And as I'm rambling on, I'll come back to the chat in a second. So one of the ideas was to just like get in better shape and like aim for a lower body fat percentage. So little sneak peek. I think when I checked on like January 1st, I have one of those scales that may not be super accurate with the fat percentage, but it was about 16%, 16 point some odd percent, which is kind of high for me. I'm usually a little bit lower, but COVID and drinking, and I wasn't trying to do anything. It was just a normal state. And usually there's something a couple times a year where I'm like, oh, I'm going to, be doing more exercise and just burn a few more calories. I'm a little bit leaner. I'm not like a bodybuilder or anything like that. But there were several years where I was in I would say like 12.5 to like 14% body fat, which is fairly lean. If you do some research, that's fairly lean. I just look like a skinny guy though. All right. So I'm just a little skinny guy. So anyway, one of the ideas for another challenge is to try to get down to say like 11, 12% body fat, just lean up, because drinking beer is not going to help that at all. So I could set up a challenge that sort of forces me to like eat better and be a little more healthy. All right, back to the chat questions, and then we'll bail here in a few minutes. And that'll be it for today. Okay. 24K Will, what's up? Good to see you. When you start out, you need to learn how to fail fast and then learn from those mistakes. I mean, you got to do like a post-mortem and just figure out like, hey, what went wrong? What went well? What do we need to do again? What would we like need to not do next time? Mediocre says, I build sites for a living and you're thinking about starting your own niche site. I'm good at developing, but how can I get around writing so much content? Is it a good idea to have all the content bought? So you will have to, look deep within and figure out like, do you want to learn how to write better and more? If you purchase all the content, chances are it's going to be pretty expensive. I would say either way is going to be helpful and a good skill to have. If you can write and communicate, that's super valuable. I wish I would have learned how to do that sooner and spent more time on that specifically when I was like in my 20s. Additionally, if you hire individuals and you learn how to hire freelancers, manage freelancers, and get them to write content, that's a super valuable skill. You literally can start an agency on that and, have a 6-figure business in a matter of weeks, to be honest with you. There's such a demand for people just like you that they just want to go somewhere and they have money to spend and they'll pay, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars for content. What's up, JJ? Good to see you. And Adrian, wisely, smartly, thank you, man. You linked to the new channel. Would love to see some more subscribers over there. Someday soon, when I have enough subscribers, I'll be able to have that vanity URL. There's just a placeholder name on there. It's stupid. I'm going to come up with something better, but I really wanted to separate like all this marketing and other random stuff that I cover here from like a new channel and just have, I think that is something where I could spend time on it, especially like 30-day type challenges, or if you're not on my email list, you should sign up. I actually sent it out this morning. I was like, hey, I'm trying to come up with new ideas for like challenges. And one of them, I haven't told my wife this yet, is to microdose with THC each day during the work week and just see how it goes. Someone actually emailed back and they were like, oh, microdosing with THC, I didn't know that was a thing. And I don't know if it's specifically a thing, but there are small doses of edibles that you could take. So instead of having like, 5 milligrams or 10 milligrams, which would kind of get you messed up. Woo. They have some in the, man, it's just a tickle in my throat here. They have 2 milligrams. So that would be like basically not noticeable. Now I wouldn't want to drive anywhere or put myself in a situation where that would be an issue at all. But 2 milligrams is virtually not, I mean, you can't even tell. You can't even tell. So check out the new channel. I would love the support. And I mean, the cool part is, I can ask and maybe get a few subscribers, but YouTube is like, there's no shortcuts. Like the content's going to do good or not. There's like, I have to start the channel from scratch. So I can lean on my email list. I can lean on, what I have built around me already. But the fact is, for it to grow very much, like it will have to stand on its own. The content will have to be good. It'll have to be engaging. So I'm actually like trying to work a little harder on that content as far as being interesting for like a general population. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I want to see how it goes, but it'll be, one of those areas where I'm taking a lot of these lessons I've learned from this channel and then my other content, and then see how it can work over there. All right, and Gabrielle, good to see you. Heading out. All right, and Matt, yeah, we're gonna do something soon. Let's see. JJ says how to tackle YouTube carousel widget and SERP. They're getting annoying. Don't know, man. I was chatting with one of my friends this morning, and a lot of these sort of changes that happen over time, like this is just like a little bit of noise. I don't even care. So yeah, sure. YouTube, how to get around it. They're getting annoying. You got to make videos, basically. I mean, like get in there, be the annoying one. That's just about the way to get around it. But otherwise, I don't know. And the thing is with these little things, they change all the time. Google shifts what they're doing. So if you're aiming at this moving target, like you're going to miss it. So I'm usually not on the cutting edge of anything. I'm kind of far behind. And the context of the conversation that I was having this morning was around schema markup, and other custom sort of schema things. And I knew a lot of people who implemented in a very painstaking manual way schema markup a few years ago for review type content, and then Google stopped displaying that in the same way in the SERPs. So it was a ton of work for kind of a fleeting situation. So I have no advice for you there, but if anyone does, then let me know. Okay. And Tim says, how many sites are you running at the moment? How many am I active on? So I'm trying to taper down as much as I can. I'm trying to get rid of things, and then I end up starting a few more up. So I'm thinking about, I usually say like 4 to 6, so around 5. And then active are less. So I have some that I really should just get rid of, but I haven't yet. And finally, good way to end it here. The mastermind says better sleep, healthy liver, better metabolism, lower blood pressure, better brain function. There are more benefits in quitting than drinking. But I love beer. I love spirits. I love cocktails like wine. I like talking about it, like thinking about it. And there are plenty of benefits for sure, but there's a lot that I like about it. And at the same time, I'm like, I haven't missed it except for like one day when I was bored. And if I just would have like gone on a hike or done something, I wouldn't have even missed it at all. It's remarkable how much I was drinking before and for the amount of time, and then just stopped. And I don't even think twice about it. I've just replaced the habit with other stuff, and it's no big deal. But yeah, there's a ton of benefits for sure. Yeah, so I have no solid response other than I really like it too. And that's as good a place as any to end. So let me make sure I talked about everything that I was going to talk about. I appreciate everyone that hops on here. We've been having great conversations. So we got my new channel. That's cool. I got the new keyword golden ratio videos. There's a link in the description. Those have not been doing as well in search, but things are coming along. I mentioned KWFinder. There is a link in the description. You can save 10% with my discount code. Shout out to Ezoic Niche Website Builders. That's fantastic. Oh, and I have kind of a random thing. So I still have a few other people on here. One thing that I'm working on, which is going to be a huge amount of work, but hopefully I'll see great benefits from it, is a content audit. So I talked about this in a recent podcast episode, and it's going to take some time. It's going to be kind of a pain in the butt, a lot of manual stuff. There's no real shortcut. There's some stuff in there where, I'm going to be able to delete a lot of content and just get rid of it. Content that no one really cares about. Maybe I wrote it 5-6 years ago and it was important that week. Maybe it wasn't even important that week. There was a time when I was like, all right, I'm going to try and publish something every week, which is not a bad thing, but it would have been really smart if I would have pruned and audited my site every quarter, every year, something. But here I am coming back and probably going to delete half my content or so. At the same time, this is a great point in time because I'm doing this huge content audit to actually get rid of my autoresponder series in a big way and kind of revamp it. I have been slowly working on it over time, but the fact is there's still a lot of waste in there. And at the same time, I host my courses over on Kajabi, which is a full course in marketing platform. There's even like a community aspect in there too. But basically I could move my email list, which I'm paying like $150 per month on, over to Kajabi, which has all the email functionality I need, plus it's integrated with my course platform. So I have more powerful marketing and funnel design, and I can send the right emails to people, like if they own the product or don't own a product. So there's a lot of benefits that I'll get, which technically you could integrate many different things together using Zapier. However, usually it's sloppier than you would hope. So while you can set up integrations all over the place, it's always better to have them kind of like in the same structure if you can. It doesn't always work out better, but usually it does. So anyway, I will be doing that. It's going to be a mess. It's going to take some time. I'm targeting that for February. It's one of those things where it's just like I'm going to have to put my head down and just keep working on it. So, all right, that's it for today. Everybody have a good rest of the week, and we'll catch you next week.